Hi, TheSuffolkRam, Brand Nerds. Welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 10, Episode 7, The Pyramid at the End of the World. Maybe some minor spoilers ahead, so if you're not being spoiled, turn off now. So, taking place at a slightly later time this week because some five-a-side game was on, which pushed it back a bit. I don't know why. Anyway, Pyramid at the End of the World. So, it's a follow-on to last week's episode. I wouldn't really call it like a part 2, it's more of a continuation of the story arc from last week. Moffat's favourite things are story arcs. And we basically said Doctor's still blind. We're back on sort of in our reality, and he realises something's happening, and it all kicks off when a pyramid materialises in this point between the American, Chinese and Russian forces are about to have a big fight, or there's a high tension area, and they plant a pyramid there. The aliens from last week, this sort of decaying, rotten monkey people, they basically put their nice little pyramid there, and they are mysterious. And it starts a very slow burning. It's a very slow episode right from the start. So while this is going on, we see this bit of this lab, and they're sort of doing some sort of production work and doing some sort of research. And you knew the two are going to be interconnected somehow. Initially, they must be, but it's very slow going at first. Although it's quite obvious later on how, even if it's not spelled out for you straight away, it's obvious there on how they're going to be interconnected. So really slow burn. It starts off quite slow burning. However, I have to say this episode was really good, full of tension, really good. I was on the edge of my seat for a large chunk of it. It was just it's just perfectly written and perfectly paced, and I was just every moment waiting to see what was going to happen. I really wanted to know. I knew whatever this happening in this lab was going to link to the main story, but I didn't know how it was going to link. Well, I sort of did know it was going to link, but how it was all going to tie together. And the revelation as it went on was really interesting. And Moffat is a master at building up these sort of tension episodes, and it was awesome. Really good episode. I like the fact that how it carries on from last week, but it's its own independent episode. You could watch this by itself, and it'd still make sense. Obviously you'd have to sort of take what was given from the previous episode, from the previous thing, but it could still make sense. The overall plot line I thought was very good, very well balanced. We won't go into the logical situation of how the Russians, the Chinese, and the Americans managed to find themselves at this cross point, but it's semi-plausible. Particularly in the current political climate, it's definitely semi-plausible, and with what was going on Slav again, it's not so plausible, but it's Doctor Who. You've got to have a little bit of fantastical elements to it. And it's interesting how the alien race is portrayed as... They're not portrayed as your typical normal Doctor Who aliens. They're portrayed as actual fact sort of... not so much benefactors, but sort of they portray themselves as benefactors and say, we're here to help you guys. But they come across as sort of... There is a price to pay of these guys, and if we go with them, is it dangerous? They don't come across as a particularly super automatic evil race, at least at the moment in time. They might generally believe what they're doing is for the best of humanity. So, yeah, I actually really enjoyed this episode, and it was a perfect, typical Moffat episode. Really perfect, typical Moffat episode. So, really good episode. So, on to the characters. As usual, quite compact episode. We get to see Bill's potential girlfriend again. This time getting interrupted again like last week by somebody else, but it's still just as funny. Second time round. Bill was absolutely brilliant. As you get later, right at the end of this episode, she really comes out of herself, and it's really spectacular acting from Palmaki. Awesome acting. Capaldi's good as always, so I'm not talking about him. The characters of the two scientists, one is very believable. The other guy, the scientist, he should have been sacked quite quickly very on. He was... all the things he did was like everything he possibly could have done was wrong. I'm sure there are probably scientists out there who that slapdash, but, faced with something he just didn't happen and wasn't quite sure. He literally just everything wrong you could think of, and it was shocking. I know it's put up earlier that he's obviously some way incapacitated, but yeah, it was shocking, his behaviour, but overall quite good. The three people playing the generals, Interesting idea. They were. I like the fact they weren't super stereotypical, but they felt a bit like it. They're sort of, particularly the American guy, being a bit brash. He felt like a typical how people characters are always portrayed in Doctor Who. They tend to portray him as a bit brash, a bit forceful, and a bit bullish in a way, which is not great if I'm honest, but that's how they've always done it, to be honest with you. So Russell Yost was even worse. He really used to take the mick out of particularly the American presidency, including George W. So yeah, they weren't quite so spectacular, but yeah, the main cast, as always, was brilliant, and the one who plays Erica, the other scientist, did a fantastic play by Rachel Denning. Did a fantastic job in this episode. I never quite got why she couldn't help. She managed to get. That's going to be spoiled. I can't say that's going to spoil it too much. So on to production. As usual, to a great high standard. I love the setting of this lovely pyramid outside. It was obviously a real pyramid they must have gone to film that. It looked really good, really effective. Some of the sort of special effects were sort of straight out of sort of like some sort of alien sci-fi film from like the sort of early 50s where they sort of like grab things and interact with things. Again, I can't spoil. I would spoil if I explain what they did. But that was absolutely really funny and quite amusing. Very funny episode throughout as well. The alien cells, I wouldn't say necessarily creepy, but definitely unsettling. Very unsettling. The lab set was excellent, and the CGI though around the set was a bit dodgy, particularly with the other scientist. Again, I'm not spoiling too much. That was a bit dodgy, but the overall premise was interesting. And Moffat, as I said, he's done a fantastic job pacing this episode. When he does pace this episode, he sort of builds up very slow tension, and it was a tension-filled episode. He does a real good job of it, and that's what he achieved this episode. So the writing of it was superb. One of the best of the series, I have to say. So production really, really very, very good. So overall, I absolutely loved this episode. Pyramid in the World it was spot on, perfect. I was really, really getting into it, and the cliffhanger ends on. While I wasn't expecting a cliffhanger to be honest. I was expecting this to be concluded this part, and then it ends on this cliffhanger. Ends like, wowee, what's happened? What has gone on? And it was quite shocking. And when it ended, I was like, no, you can't leave me dangling here. I want to know. I've got to wait a whole week to find out what's going on. You can't do that to me. And that was great. I had to say, this is probably, in my opinion, so far, the best episode of the season. They've all been very good, but this just took the biscuit. I mean, it just shows when Moffat does what's a really prospering episode, he really goes for it, and he really did it. He excelled himself in this one. Absolutely loved this episode completely. Really, really, really good. So thank you for watching. That's been my review of Pyramid at the End of the World. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe to our channel, and you'll see as I do future episode reviews, they'll go up on here. We also do a podcast live stream when it works. Every fortnight, ideally. We try to anyway, which we put up as well. So please come join us, and we can watch that on a Friday afternoon. It will move to Saturday once Doctor Who goes off the air, but that's what we're doing at the moment. We also, whenever we get time, I try and put other videos up there as well. Please subscribe if you'd like us. So thank you very much. Up in the TheSuffolkRam from Round Nerds. I look forward to seeing you next week on the next part of this episode, where we'll see what happens. So until then, I'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching. See you later.